Hi everyone, welcome back to What's Going On Seaville. We are so excited about our next guest.
Yes, we are.
How would you sum up this young man?
Medical student.
Adventurer?
Mm-hmm. Do-gooder?
Let's start there.
Do-gooder.
Do-gooder. Is that even a word, Joe?
It is a word.
Okay,
it is a word.
because we've just applied it to you.
All right.
We have John Forrester here with us tonight. And
his brother Joe, even.
And his brother Joe. Hey Joe, how are you? Let's see if I can get the do-gooder. Well, I'm just going to call you do-gooder from now on. Joe, you have to tell us about your journey. You know, first and foremost, you went on a very long kayak trip. Is that correct? And
yeah.
I'm not doing it any justice, so please start right there.
All right. So on June 2nd of 2009, I started up at the headwaters of the Missouri River, where the Jefferson, the Madison, and the Gallatin all come together, and paddled 3,461 miles down to the Gulf of Mexico.
Can you say that again? 3,000?
461 miles.
Wow.
When you started out, did you know right where you were going to stop?
Yeah, the Gulf.
So you knew you were going 3,461 miles?
Yes, that was my goal.
What did it feel like after mile 1?
Because that's as far as John's ever gone. Yeah.
It started setting in just how far I had to go. I had taken the leave of absence from the University of Virginia, and 2 days prior, and then got on the river and started paddling. And it was once I hit that first mile, I started to realize just how much I had bitten off.
Joe, what inspired you to kayak for 3,600 miles?
So I've always loved adventure, whether it's climbing mountains or traveling places, and I've tried to integrate my love for adventure and doing these trips with some sort of cause. And in this case, I chose to raise money for the National Parkinson's Foundation in honor of my grandfather.
Oh wow, that is fantastic. And so it was a fundraiser when you started out, or did it become? And what was your goal?
So my goal was to raise $20,000 for the National Parkinson's Foundation.
And how did that work out for you?
It worked out great. Ended up raising $21,996. So.
Incredible. If someone else wanted to do something like walk across the country and raise money for something, how do you do it? Like, how do you go about getting funding to do that, to get sponsorship or whatever?
So the best way to go about doing it is first make the commitment to yourself, because there are so many opportunities to quit along the way, because it's not easy. It takes a significant amount of time to initially plan your route and then talk with companies. But once you make that commitment, companies, particularly a lot of the gear companies and outdoor companies, are very supportive of people doing things like this. Just emailing them, talking with the presidents, the CEOs, and say, this is what I want to do. Will you help make this happen?
And this was the first time you did this?
This is the first time I'd done something of this magnitude, but I've done other trips, climbing up in Alaska.
So number one, commitment to yourself. I love that. And what would the next step be? Did you have someone tracking you?
Yes, I did have someone tracking me. And that was a big part of the trip, is that I was able to bring a lot of other people in on the trip with me. I had a satellite beacon that was following me the entire way down, and that linked up to a website where people could see my daily progress.
That's fascinating.
And then my brother would blog about what I did each day, so that people could follow along day by day, kind of the perils of being a kayaker. So.
Did you ever just take the little thing off of you and put it down in the water and throw your brother for a loop?
No. I think my parents would have become a little concerned.
Yeah, John. That might be a little unfair, but that's pretty funny.
So you met people along the way that were about your cause as well. Tell us about that.
Yeah. So one person in particular, I met a number of people throughout the trip. Related to the Parkinson's or related to the river, but one person in particular, a gentleman named Kelly Lane in South Dakota, who had been diagnosed with young onset Parkinson's. And before I left on the trip, he emailed me and asked if he could meet up with me when I got to Pierre, South Dakota, after finishing Lake Oahe. And I told him I'd be honored to. And what struck me so much about Kelly was that he had young onset Parkinson's. He had been a high school teacher, he had been a climber, he had been a kayaker, and he had all that taken away from him. But yet he still got out, and on the days that were good, he'd try and get out and kayak, and he'd still try and pass this love of the outdoors on to the kids in the area where he lived. And to me, that was incredibly inspiring.
Very inspiring. there had to be something that scared you to death. I mean, was there ever a frightening moment or a moment when you felt like quitting?
So there were definitely frightening moments, and there were definitely moments when I felt like quitting.
Tell us about it.
I think the most frightening aspect of the entire trip was paddling through New Orleans, because all of the river traffic that comes up the river kind of converges on New Orleans, and all the traffic coming down the river converges on New Orleans. And so I'm in a 17-foot self-powered kayak, and there's huge ocean tankers and barges going back and forth. Not many places to camp. I actually camped outside of the water intake structure for the city of New Orleans, and that was a scary point. As far as quitting, pretty much when I left St. Louis and got on the lower Mississippi, and the temperatures would hit 100, 105 during the day with 95, 100% humidity, that was very difficult to try and paddle through.
And what kept you going?
A lot of what kept me going was the fact that I knew that I had so many people rooting for me, and that I could call my brother and he'd give me hard love, and he'd say, "Joe, tough it out. This isn't going to be the toughest thing you have to do, so make it happen."
Easy for him to say, right?
Yeah.
He's sitting at the computer blogging it.
Right. What did you eat? Like, did you have your food with you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I'd carry my food with me. Usually, I could carry up to about 3 weeks worth of food. And my average meal, I'd wake up in the morning, have coffee, have granola, eat candy bars throughout the day, Snickers, Twix. After 3 months, you start changing it up as much as possible. And then in the evening, I would cook up a big pot of pasta, and then put a whole block of cheese in there, and then a whole thing of summer sausage. Basically, as many calories as I could get.
Nice.
Yeah, it was great.
On one of those
That
trips.
It was a great weight loss trip.
That's fantastic.
Did you lose weight on the trip?
Yeah, within the first 2 weeks, I had lost 15 pounds, and I kind of stayed at about 185 for the remainder of the trip, but I lost a lot of weight really quick.
Did you learn anything about yourself?
I did. I learned that I could push myself just about as far as I could go physically. I could push myself through pain that I think most people probably wouldn't want to push themselves through. But at the same time, I realized how absolutely dependent I was on my family and the people who supported me. Because in the really tough times, that was what got me through more than anything.
Amazing. That's very inspiring.
You must have encountered some weather.
Yes. I encountered everything. I encountered snow, rain, heat. But I think the most memorable experience was I just crossed Beaver Bay on this reservoir called Lake Sakakawea up in North Dakota. And I'd got my tent set up, got dinner set up, and all of a sudden the wind starts getting pretty strong. I was like, this is interesting. The clouds start coming together, turn on my weather radio, and there's a tornado warning.
Oh,
and I thought, this is not good. And the winds keep getting stronger and stronger. And at this point, it's about 65, 75 miles an hour. And in a nylon tent, it starts to blow around a little bit. And so I turned on my weather radio again and said that a tornado had touched down. And I looked on my map for where it was, and it was about 2 miles from my camp. So the wind starts getting stronger and stronger. And what I ended up doing was I took my life jacket, snapped my life jacket on, and just sat there. In the event that I was picked up, at least if I got launched out into the reservoir, I'd be floating and able to swim back. It was scary though.
Wow.
Did you ever get lonely?
Yeah.
Were you in contact with anyone? I mean, I know that you had the satellite beacon. Was that also a communication?
Yeah, so I would talk with my brother too.
Oh, that's
but
great.
Yeah, he was my main contact for 3 months. There were some days where I'd go a week and a half without seeing anyone.
So, just going to change track just briefly.
Mm-hmm.
You are a UVA medical student, correct?
Yeah, I'm a fourth-year med student.
That's wonderful. And if you had anything to say to our viewers about their goals in life, what would it be? What would you pass on to them?
That if you come up with a dream, commit yourself to it and go for it 100%. You'll have no regrets.
That's a great message. Do you still write your blog, or are you doing anything online currently?
So the website is still up, and if people want to read about the trip, they can go in and follow all the blogs that have been there. I also took a journal throughout the trip, and I'm in the process of compiling them into kind of a big, complete story. But no no active blogging as of now.
Is there a book in your
We'll
future?
see. We'll see.
He's such an underachiever.
So what's next, underachiever?
So next is residency. I'll be doing general surgery for residency. As far as adventures go, I have some ideas for things in the spring, but we'll see.
We'll have to have you back to talk about that, right?
How's your grandfather?
He's doing well. His Parkinson's is a progressive disease, so unfortunately, every time I see him, there's something that's a little bit different, but he's still managing to get up and walk around, still able to talk. He has a little bit harder time hearing now than he used to, but yeah, he's still doing okay.
He must be very proud of you.
The trip was about him, so it worked out well.
That's wonderful. What a great story.
Yeah,
Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you very
Joe,
much.
we really appreciate it a lot. Thank you.
We're definitely going to have you back. We want to follow your adventures. We'll live vicariously through your life because we don't do very much. We're a bit boring.
Yeah. You ever hang glide?
I've done some paragliding. I haven't hang glided before.
Cool.
Baby.
Well, thank you again.
Thank you very much, Lana and John. I
Yourself.
appreciate it.
Yeah,
All right.
our pleasure. And stay tuned if you're a parent and concerned about the food in your child's school. You're going